Hey guys, this is Backlog Gaming here, and today I have another build video. In this build, what I was trying to focus on when I created it is I wasn't going for a brand new meta build or anything like that. This build is strictly a build that I created that I wanted to utilize the warrior's new specialization, which is Berserker. I wanted to utilize the new weapon that it was introduced for the warrior, which is the torch, and I wanted to introduce the tree that they would be getting, which is like the Berserker tree. So I wanted to take advantage of all three of those. And this is the build that I came up with in order to utilize all three. And it is a condition-based build. Condition-based build. And this build is going to focus around bleeds, and it is going to focus around burning. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it, okay? Now, I'm going to show you guys the armor that I have so far for my warrior. Now, I do not have the torch weapon obviously equipped because Heart of Thorns does not come out until next week. But I have, in a way of sorts, mid-max this build in order to optimize the best stat allocation that I could find, but I'll go into that. It's going to be more on the accessory side. So without further ado, what are we going to be rocking for gear? Right now, what I've came up with is a power precision condition damage, which is also referred to as sinister, as your type of gear. And my screen just froze. So we have the dragon mask. Well, it's not dragon mask, but we have power precision condition damage. Now, one thing that I will say about this build is it's going to focus a lot on duration. Not very often do we see PvE mobs cleansing their conditions. I mean, it does happen. I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen, but my whole idea is the more that I can stack, the faster that I can stack, and the longer that the stack stays there, it's all going to equate to the same thing. Okay? So what we have, sinister armor on the left-hand side, okay? Also, sinister weapons. Now, I have the two swords made here that you're seeing right now, which is going to be the power precision condition damage. Now, for sigils and runes, what are we running? I'm running Superior Rune of the Crate. The reason why I chose Superior Rune of the Crate is just strictly because of the condition damage it offers on top of the bleeding duration. I'm not too interested in number 6 of the runes to where it's going over where my elite, basically when I use Signet of Rage or my elite, it affects torment, bleeding, and poison. Does it add a couple conditions? Does it increase my DPS? Not really. So what I like to see is maybe something that's tailored more towards condition damage for a warrior, for a rune that comes out in Heart of Thorns. So that may change. That may not stay the same. I will do an update if things change, but right now, I was really excited to do this build and get it out there for you guys. So that's why I'm doing it kind of pre-release of what is projected to happen. That's why you're going to see things not happening in game on my screen. So on the swords, I went with Superior Sigil of Agony, with basically 20% duration on your inflicted bleeds, and then I went on 60% chance on critical to inflict bleeding for 5 seconds. And we'll get into that. That has a cooldown of 2 seconds, but we'll get into more of why I went with that one. It's something else that you could swap it out with if you wanted to, which would be like the Sigil of Geomancy or whatever, to where if we swap weapons, this puts some bleed on the character. Now, if I was running Torch offhand, with Torch offhand, I would just change from this bleeding duration. I don't know if I'd have the inflicted bleeding duration be 20% or the primary be the critical hit. It really doesn't matter which one, but I'd probably seek with duration to keep my duration up as long as I can. But I would obviously do Sigil of Smoldering, I believe is what it's called, in order to increase my burning damage on my burning duration for those burns that I'd be applying with the torch skill. So that's what I plan on putting on the torch. Could that change? Again, if sigils come out, I'll update the build. Now, something that I didn't realize the first time I was going through the numbers and crunching things is this. With this build, you are going to have a 100% crit chance rate, okay? The way we're going to obtain that is not only through buffs, but it's like Fury, which gives you 20% crit chance, or my banner that you're seeing down here, banner discipline, and those types of buffs. Yes, those are going to help. Now, there is a trait when you spec for sword cooldown rate, you also gain 20% crit chance against bleeding foes. So, with that said, this is kind of an odd setup for the right side of your back piece and accessories and everything. So what I ended up going with is I'm still keeping like the condition, precision, toughness, which is like the rabid back piece. Right now I just have in a generic exotic one, nothing special. But if we look here, I went with Celestial. Now, people can sit here and bash on that idea, but what I was trying to do, and I don't have my spec fully over here done, but you want to try and get your crit chance rate as close as you can to 38%. Yes. 38%. I'm at 42.4%. Okay. That's roughly the finest spot I could get it. Now, could this go other ways? Yeah, it could go other ways. Why don't you have something with condition damage on it? Like, you know, Rampagers, I believe is what this is, but where you have condition damage. Yes, I could do that. But one thing I noticed with condition damage is that it scales good, but it's not amazing. And with Celestial, I can gain other aspects. A little bit of toughness, a little bit of vitality, but again, I'm still keeping that little bit of precision, but I'm also increasing my ferocity. Okay, so ultimately I settled on Celestial. Is that the end of the world? No. When I first went through and I had Condi everything with precision, we were looking at a crazy insane amount of crit, well over 152%. Well over 152%, and that's wasted stats on my part. So I went and tried to mid-max better in this build. That's why I went with Celestial. Now, could you say, well, I don't give a fuck what it is, I just want to have Sinister everything? Yeah, you can do that. Let's say you wanted to have carry on. Yeah, you can do that. In order to get ascended accessories and ascended type items of those, you have to complete special achievements. If you want to complete those achievements to unlock the ability to buy them, then go ahead. The average player is not going to do that. I'm just letting you guys know they're not going to do that. They're not going to go out achievement hunting because not a lot of people do that. Especially the two that you have to do for carry on. So the easiest way to min-max I went with was Celestial. So again, guys, don't bash me for that. It's just the route that I went because it's an easier route for one, and for two, it still offers me condition damage, not as much, but it still offers me condition damage on the items, and it still offers me a way to kind of get it closer to that 38%. So that's the reason I went with those. Underwater weapons, whatever you guys want to do for those, but yeah, I didn't really cover underwater in this build because I never fight underwater. So anyways, guys, that's it for the fucking gear section that I have here, that I'm going with. Now, we'll kind of relay into a different screen to show you the actual spec that I'm going to be choosing. All right, so I'll see you guys over there. Here we are with the spec. Now, the three lines that we're going to be using, again, we're including Berserker, Arms, and Tactics. So let's get into it. What am I looking at for a spec here? I'm just going to go over your minors real quick for Berserker. Primal Rage. Give access to the Primal Burst skills and the usage of Torch. This is needed for our build that we're doing. Next one, Always Angry. Much like Opening Strikes for Rangers, gives warriors 10 extra adrenaline when they enter combat. So that's awesome. And give you a short duration of quickness for 2 seconds when you activate Berserker's mode. So those are going to be your minors. Now let's focus on the traits. Now this is a straight shot, okay? 2, Last Blaze, okay? Set foes on fire when you use a rage skill. Berserk is also a rage skill, so you can set foes on fire by simply activating Berserk mode. Okay, next thing that we go into, Heat of the Soul. Plus 150 condition damage and 20% reduced recharge rate on torch skills. Great. And then the last one, King of Fires. Increase burning duration by 20% and spread burning to nearby foes when you crit against a burning foe. Keep that in mind. We're going to be spreading fire on a burning foe. Okay, now if we're looking at this on like an instance 5-man type of situation, burning's probably going to be on the mob all the time, and you will be transferring burning when you crit. 2-second cooldown. Think that critting there, critting later on. Next tree that we have is the arms. Let's cover the minors here. Precise strikes. Your critical hits have a 33% chance to inflict a bleed for 4 seconds. Rendering strikes or critical hits have a 33% chance to inflict 1 stack of vulnerability for 8 seconds. And we have Bloodlust. Deal 5% additional damage to bleeding foes. Bleedings you inflict last 33% longer. That's going to help us. Alright, so we're going to start off with Signet Mastery. Now, why did I pick Signet Mastery? It's because of that maximum 5 stacks. You can increase your precision doing this. Now, when I factored in that we wanted to get down to 38% crit chance, I'm only using 300 of this, of 500. You will have over 100%, and you can calculate for more than that if you get to that 5 stacks. So keep that in mind. I used 300 on the calculations. That gave 200 in stats for air in order to increase your crit chance, which is huge. Okay. Next thing we have here is Blade Master. Reduces recharge of sword skills by 20%. Sword skills have a 20% increased critical hit chance against bleeding foes. So you combo that with Permanent Fury that your party would be giving you, you're looking at an extra 40% crit chance. So you have 40% crit chance right there. Okay. So what's this build going to be focused around? Condition damage and critting. Okay. Now, the next thing that we have here is dual wielding. Increase the attack speed of 15% while wielding a sword, an axe, or a mace in your offhand. You will be wielding a sword. Hopefully, they adjust this to where we get this increase with torch. If not, we may have to go furious. Basically, we can gain an extra 250 condition damage. So, depending on what happens, we may have to change that stat. Both of those are going to be very good. Furious or dual wielding. Burst precision, not going to matter because we already crit 100% of the time. So, between these two, you could go either way. But if they include torch on this one for dual wielding, it's going to be an iffy. But if they don't, you might have to go with furious. Just throwing that out there. All right, let's cover tactics. So with tactics, we're going to have gain 400 toughness, so reviving an ally. Again, not the best thing. Reviver's Might, when you successfully revive an ally or nearby allies, gain 3 stacks of Might. Might increases condition damage, but you shouldn't have 25 stacks on you at all times. Might you apply grants 10 healing power per stack. Who cares? So Miner's not very good in that tree, but we're going to get empowered. Deal 1% additional damage for each boon that's on you. That will help in your damage because that's going to directly affect your conditions that's on people. Empowered allies. Nearby allies gain 150 power. While in combat, you also gain 150 power, which is going to increase how hard you hit. So that's going to help you. And powerful synergy. I went with this. Whenever you activate a leap finisher, it activates twice. The reason I went with this, we're using the sword cooldown. The 2 ability is a leap finisher on the sword. So with the torch, we're able to light ourselves on fire, use the leap ability, and give ourselves the fire aura, which gains might. And when you're hit, it applies burning back towards the foe. So probably some type of condition damage with it. Now, you can use Vigorous Shouts, or if you want to use Failing Strength, you can. It's up to you what you want to use. Warriors with Failing Strength mostly are using Greatsword. Greatsword's not a part of this build, so I don't feel that it's right to put that in there. Now, let's say you need a ranged weapon. Uh-oh, I don't have a ranged weapon. What do? You want to use Longbow, okay? And the only trait you have to switch this whole time, if you wanted to, is going to be Burning Arrows, okay? Burning Arrows is right above Empowered Allies. It's going to be reduces your recharge of your longbow skills by 20%, and your auto attacks will inflict burning on the person. So if you need to use a range, I highly recommend that. If you're empowered allies, if everybody's using range, you're probably not stacking, so that's why I would get rid of empowered allies. You're not going to be standing right next to somebody. So if you do switch to this, then you may want to, take out the leap finisher, or and put in maybe like failing strength, because you can't blast might with the bow. Whatever, it would help your teammates, whatever you want to do. Or you can leave it, not the end of the world, because technically you could shoot the fire field and then use 2 and then activate it. So both of them were still viable. Anyways, guys, that covers the build. So again, what did we focus in on this build? We were focused on condition damage and crit. So with the spec, you're going to see it focuses on crit damage, and it focuses strictly on applying conditions on crit, and basically increasing condition duration and increasing our crit chance. So good synergy here that we have with this build. I'm going to head back into the game to show you guys what type of consumables and stuff that you should be using. Anyways, I'll see you guys back in the game. So now we're back in the game. Let's go ahead and check out what type of consumable should you be using with this build to complicate what you have. And I apologize that my inventory is a mess right now, but you're going to have to bear with it. We're only going to be focusing on 2 things. The Master Tuning Crystal. Gain condition damage equal to 6% of your toughness and 4% of your vitality. Now, this little baby is going to give you about I believe I did the calculations at about 120. Okay, without any buffs from other classes, we're looking at about 120 condition damage from this. Okay, so we have roughly right around 120 from that. Then the next thing that you want to use is, I'm going to recommend, is rare veggie pizzas. This is going to be plus 40% condition duration and plus 70 condition damage. So this is going to increase how long our bleeds that we apply and everything like that. So those are the 2 consumables I'm going to recommend for you guys. Again, very easy to make. This is going to require 400 Artificer. Rare Veggie Pizza is going to require 400 Cooking. Now, the Artificer, this is going to use 5 piles of crystalline dust. 1 craft gets you 5 crystals to use. And Veggie Pizza, if you haven't seen my video that's either coming out or that it is out about the Orient truffle steak farm, that's the top DPS food, you'd want to do that in order to make this pizza. It's super cheap. You pay about 3 silver per unit, and from there you get tons of food. So keep that in mind. Very, very cheap to make, very, very easy to make, very, very good on stats. So that covers the consumables. Now let's talk a little bit about our loadout down below and why we're choosing the weapons that we're going to choose. Now, there may be some unexperienced warriors that don't know a whole lot about the game, that are just kind of looking for a build to try. Well, let's help them out here. Sword is going to be your melee Condi weapon. As you can see here, we have the bleed your foe. So we have 2 auto attacks here that are going to apply bleed to an opponent that you're going to be seeing. So with that being said, we're going to have bleeding. Now I'm going to pop the food, and people probably think I'm crazy for doing this, but whatever. As you can see right now, we're setting at 19 seconds per bleed stack on an auto attack. That's 2 stacks of bleeds for 19 seconds. You can stack this pretty high, okay? Now, on the 3rd one, we have a cripple, which is whatever. It'll keep the mob from going where he's supposed to go, but it's not that big of a deal, okay? But alone with the auto attack, if you're auto attacking, the target's bleeding, so we get that extra crit. We get that extra 20% crit, okay? Next thing we have here, this is going to be the leap finisher. You can tell that by it says combo leap, combo finisher type leap at the end. So if we had that fire field down, you can leap, and you'll leap through it, and then you'll get this aura around you. I can't really show you guys right now because I don't have torch, but it works. Next thing that we have here is final thrust. Now, this is going to be great when you are attacking an enemy and you have Signet Mastery on, and a Signet will pop. It's called the Signet of Power. It makes your attacks unblockable. When you see that proc, that's when you want to use Final Thrust. Final Thrust will deal an extra 50% damage to foes underneath health. So you're looking at, it's actually double the damage, sorry. So 200% of the damage. So you do 2,075 as a base, okay? So we have the offhand sword. Now the offhand sword is great because we can use a ranged ability where we can inflict torment on a target. So like if I wanted to throw my sword at this guy, boom, I throw my sword, boom, it sticks in him and he starts getting torment. Now when they're moving, it does a lot more damage. That's great. That's what we want. The other thing that is awesome is that you can rip it out of them for extra damage, which is always nice once they get to you. And then from there, we also have Repose. Now, Repose is a good ability because, one, it is a block, okay? Two, it's going to put 4 stacks of bleeding on for 28 seconds for 10,972 damage right now that I'm sitting at. 10,972. That's a lot. All right, so that's why we would be using it. Torch, the 2 torch abilities that you are going to get is going to be you will light yourself on fire, making an AoE pulsing field that lights foes on fire. And then you have like another one where you smash it on the ground and it hits them and it like removes conditions and implies burning or something like that. So those are going to be the 2 torch skills that I can't show you because I don't have them. Now, the loadout on the right side of the board right now I have for Great Justice in. You will not be running for Great Justice. You will be running Healing Signet, so you can stack your Signet Precision buff here, which is right here. We have 2 stacks. That's 200 Precision. Okay. What we will be running in here is an ability that I can't think of the name. Give me one moment here. I have it written down. An ability called Shattering Blow. Now, Shattering Blow, it's going to block projectiles, and it is going to apply bleeding to your foes. So we're going to be able to get some stacks of bleed. Now, I did the math on this, that the bleeds that it applies, we should be able to keep them up ×2. So if we keep them up ×2, from there, I think it's like 6 stacks of bleed. An extra 6 stacks of bleed. So, lots of bleed. Next that we're going to run is the 2 banners because it's going to provide more support for our group. We have Banner of Strength, which is not only going to give us 170 power, but also 170 condition damage, therefore increasing our condition damage. So if we pop this, we go from like Repose being that amount that I said to 12,114. So as you can see, it increases tremendously your condition damage. Now, also, we have Banner of Discipline. This is going to give us our 170 Precision, but it's also going to give us 170 Ferocity. That's going to increase our crit damage and our crit chance. And I will be running Signet of Rage. Again, as you can see here, when we pull up the equipment and we look, my crit chance as right shy of 80% right now. 80%, 2 stacks. That's what I'm saying. Plus the 20 for bleeding foes that you're not seeing here, that's 100%. That's where I'm saying you get the 100% crit chance from. That's why I feel like the build's going to hit really hard and whatnot. So, now we've covered skills and everything, let's move on, okay? This video is getting kind of long. So, what do we have here? Let's just get some stats to kind of show you what you're going to be gaining and from what. Now, the runes are going to provide you with 175 condition damage and 45% bleed duration. Your spec is going to provide you with 150 condition damage, 20% burning duration, 33% bleeding duration, 5% more damage against bleeding foes, and 1% more damage for each boon on you, which both of those will affect your condition damage. Also, foods and consumables are going to give you 40% condition duration. We're getting 70 condition damage from that food. And these already wear off. Maybe I didn't pop these. I didn't pop one. This is going to give you about right around 120. Okay, if you do the math. It might be a little bit shy of that, but it's right around there. So you're going to get about 120 condition damage from that. Alright. Sigils are going to provide 20% of each kind. Also, with the sword, when we crit, we're going to be applying bleed, so that's going to help also. Even with our spec. So, our spec says 33% chance, and our sword says 60% chance. So, going to be inflicting bleed, and that's going to be for 10 seconds, which is good, on a 2-second cooldown. So it's going to help. Alright. So if you add up all this crap of what you're getting and whatnot, the final numbers that I'm looking at here is bleed duration is going to be 138%. Burn duration is going to be 80%. Again, you're going to have 100% crit chance. So you're going to be doing enough damage per se as a Condi build in order to support what you are doing. So I guess the next thing, I kind of wanted to show this on some dummies, but we're going to take it out and just kind of show you a couple highlight reels, and I might speed it up a little bit to show you guys how many stacks of bleed that we're going to put on an enemy with like just the auto attack and the food and what type of things that we're looking at. So I'm going to edit the video. I'll be back on the next section, and then from there I'll show you guys what it can do. I'm out here in Cursed Shore trying to see what this build can do on auto attack. So we're going to focus on the giant here. I'm just going to auto attack with this spec that I have and see basically where can we top out just by auto attacking in a real time situation where I have to dodge and everything to see what we can get. So I seen 26 pop up there, but 25, guys. That's what it's looking like. There's 27, 28. So that goes to show you, okay, guys? We're looking at just off of auto attacks right around from 23 to 25 stacks of bleed. 23 to 25 off of that. All right? So let's take a look at a real-time scenario. I'll try and find another giant to kind of keep it equal. And let's see what we can ramp up. It was able to find a giant. Now let's see what this build can actually do. Let's power up here. Now this is without no stacks of might or anything that you have here. So let's see what we can get. Damn, couldn't dodge there. So without weapon swap, we're still looking at a high amount of bleeds on the mob. So we are getting quite a bit. Now most of my bleeds are coming from auto attack. But as you can see there, we are getting a high amount of bleeds on the mob. I mean, giants dying fast. Is it Berserker fast? Not really. But again, that wasn't the point of this build. So there you guys have it. I mean, this build, pretty much to sum it all up, that concludes the build video. As you can see, I've shown you some footage of some battles. I'm fairly confident with this build that it's going to be a decent build that's out there, and I'm happy with the performance. Now, I did accomplish the 3 main goals that I had: to be able to utilize the Berserker tree, utilize the Berserker weapon, and pretty much make a solid build combining those 3. So that was the goal of this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you want to try it out, give it a try. Maybe you don't want to use Ascended Armor, use Exotic, see how you like it, and then go from there. I just had a spare Ascended set around, so I made an Ascended set of Sinister. So with that being said, guys, that's it for the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more YouTube content about Guild Wars 2, more guides in general, more news in general. I try to release daily content for my viewers. If you guys want to comment down below areas you think I can improve on this build, that you think I can do, feel free to do so. I always take criticism. You know, if you think something would fit better, highly recommend, hey, try it, let me know your results, create a conversation down there in the comments section. Anyways, guys, That's it from me today. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.